Okay guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. In today's video we're looking at the Nissan Gtr Gt3 race car around Redbull Ring. We're going to be looking at this track again. I know we've been doing this track quite a lot recently. I'm going to be moving on to a different track very soon before going back to this with other cars. I think I'm going to look at Monza as my next track that I'm going to do quite a few setups for, as it seems like quite a popular track, and I've not actually done much on that track for this game. We've only done one setup before. It'd be good to get at least 2 or 3 different GT3 cars set up and a couple of GT2 and maybe the F1 car for Monza or something like that. So we'll have a look at doing that. Other cars we'll have a look at doing soon will be probably, I want to try and do the old touring car, the Alfa Romeo, as well as a car I really like from Gran Turismo. I want to try and get that set up. I've not driven that yet on this game, so I'll be looking forward to getting that done. But anyway, moving on to this setup. We managed a 1 minute 29.6 in hot lap phase, although it should have been faster. It should have actually been at least two tenths faster, 0.4 probably. Another point to note is the car feels slightly faster on the PC than on PS4. It's really strange. This setup's done on PS4, but the car drives better on the PC slightly. Maybe it's probably only by about 2 tenths, but it's very similar to the Mercedes AMG as well. That car also I've been playing with on the PS4. Hopefully we'll get that set up out as well at some point, and that car can also reach maybe a 29.76, something like that, but on PC it felt a little bit faster, maybe 2 tenths faster, but we'll look into doing them cars in the future. So we're going to run on to the consistency test now, which is probably the main part of the setup. You want the car to be running well. So what I've done is we've done 3 laps. The lap we had just been on, we backed off because we made a slight mistake, so we started 3 laps. And we're going from this point now where we're just going to try and put 3 laps together, see how the car handles. As you can see, it reacts really well on turn 1 at the moment. You can make alterations to this setup. You can possibly raise the ride height by 1 click on each front and rear, add a slight bit more toe, and possibly maybe alter the camber angles as well on the rear. But the only thing I've noticed is it doesn't seem to be as fast, but it might be easier to drive. It's a setup that I have noticed you really have to get into a rhythm with. It took me, it didn't take me long to get into a 29.9, I think, when hot lapping it. But in terms of consistently lapping it into the late 29s, early 30s, where you can just keep lapping it like that, it will take a lot of just work with it. Don't just give up after a few laps, because I started off when I was consistency testing it, I was struggling to get into like 30.5, 30.6s, and then once I just got into a rhythm with the car, where you've got this car is very unique in the way you've got to put the power down. You've got to let the car get into the corner and then really get on the power as early as you physically can. I was running traction control on the weakest setting, which was, I think with this car, 7 or 8. I think it might have been 7 or 8, I can't remember, but I don't think it goes any higher than that. So we were running on the weakest setting, and ABS, I'm sure it's level 3, which you can alter to 2. I was playing with 2 and 3 and they felt very similar. I couldn't really work out which was better, but I wouldn't go with it on 1 as it felt a little bit too strong and I wasn't getting the car to turn in as well on some of the corners. It felt like the ABS was a little bit too strong, but as you can see there, through turn 1 it handles it really well again. We should have actually hit some really slow, like really fast laps on this consistency test. You can see we did our hot lap as well. We didn't do our hot lap within a hot lap session, which probably will explain maybe 2 tenths at the time. We actually just did it when we were consistency testing it. We managed to hit a 129.6 when consistency testing it. So if I did actually go into a hot lap where I spent half an hour trying to see what the maximum it could do, I'm guessing this setup would be able to hit maybe a 29.3 or 4, as when you're consistency testing you don't normally drive flat out, but it was a reasonable lap. But we messed the last corner up, as you'll see when we go through to the hot lap after we've done the setup and gone through it. But I'll show you the lap that I actually hit the 29.6, and it was a big mistake on the last corner. You can actually see it sometimes when we're doing the consistency test, where I'll be gaining on the time. Although this last corner was causing me troubles in this, a lot of trouble with this Nissan. It seems to struggle with a bit of understeer, so you've got to be a bit patient on the throttle, and also just brake a bit more than you would with other cars, and then try and get on the power a little bit earlier. You'll see now, although we're fine there, it was just getting it down into 3rd gear. With the gearing, I did try altering the gears so that 3rd gear was slightly higher, with 2nd gear slightly higher, so that it would go down into 3rd gear a bit earlier, but it was just slowing us down over the lap, and I thought I'd rather take the pain from the last corner. You just got to be a bit more cautious. and have a better lap time than making it easier to drive through that last corner but then taking pain through the rest of the lap, because you needed a lower second gear for mainly this corner up ahead. Now as you see, the way I was taking it was going into second gear, but you can go into first gear as well. I did try first gear a couple times. You see second gear and then on power as early as you can, but what you can do on that corner also is maybe a thing to try would be running the second gear slightly higher but then up in the first gear and then using first gear through that corner, really getting on the power early. Maybe worth a try. You might be able to get some very fast lap times doing that, so just bear that in mind when taking the setup down. You might want to try raising the first gear by 1 click and the second gear by 1 click. But a point to note for this is with the Nissan GTR, if you raise your first gear above what I've got it here, your starts are going to be awful. It won't, on PS4 it will be anyway. I don't know about PC. You might be able to get away with it on PC because you can use the clutch a bit more. You can do that on PS4 by using the clutch, but you'll have about, it'll be a couple of attempts where you won't be on the throttle fast enough, and if you try and do a normal start, it'll just bog down with the first gear higher. So just bear that in mind for your starts. Otherwise you will lose out on a couple of places. So maybe just for qualifying you could do that and then just go back to the gearing I've got in this setup for your race, so you don't lose out on the start, because the worst thing you can do in a race situation is losing out by 2 or 3 places. As you can see there, the setup's been consistent. We've hit a 29, we hit a 29, a 30.0 and a 30.0 I think it was. So the setup's nice and consistent, so easy to drive. So we're going to go through the setup now. Brake balance on 70. You can run that on 69 also. Bit similar, but I couldn't work out. I just felt 70 was a bit more consistency, so for the consistency test, definitely 70. Driving train on 10, and then as you can see there on the deceleration, we got it just in the middle pretty much. It gives a good compromise. Camber's not too high because obviously we want some speed on this track, and we ran the rear anti-roll bars very low, as you can see on the setup. So what we try to do is get some speed, but we also want some grip from getting on the power as early as we can. You could probably get away with running the aerodynamics slightly higher than what I did also. You could probably get away with running the aerodynamics one or two higher, because this car is very fast down the straight line, so you could probably sacrifice a bit of speed there to gain on traction, which you might be able to alter some other stuff within the setup to help out with that as well. We upped the bump stop slightly as well, obviously for that last corner, trying to help ourselves out through that corner. So try that setup and see what you think, and then we're going to go through the hot lap now, where I'm going to go through a very quick guide of the track and where you really need to be pushing the car. Okay, so we obviously ran this run within the practice session with all the settings as you would online, etc., all the wear on, etc. We're going to brake just before the 100 with this car, getting it nice and try and get on that power as early as possible. You can actually run over the curb easily with this car and this setup, and it should react really well. Basically it won't bounce around. It should be really nice. Now going into turn 1, we're going to brake a little bit early again because we're carrying that much speed, so we're braking just before the 100, going down into second gear. Remember, if you want to go into first gear you still can. As you notice with second gear it bogs down a bit, but then it hits second gear with the turbo and really kicks in, so you do get a lot of speed coming out that corner if you stay in second gear. Now we're going to look at brake just before the 100 again with this car, going down into second gear, trying to get it in nice and early. Use some of the curb if you can. If you can get on that curb a little bit more, you will get a better exit. And then get on the power as early as we can coming out that corner. Looking again for the 50-yard board on the right, where we're going to brake down into third gear. You can see now we're going to go down into third gear, trying to get it tightened on that the entry to this corner, and then we can get on the power as early as we can. Going into fourth gear, then back down to fourth gear for this corner, holding the line. If you can stay in fourth gear there and maintain speed, that's where you're going to gain your time. If you're struggling to maintain the line, just go down into third gear and then get on the power as early as you can. Now we're going to look at in between the 100 and the 50-yard ball, braking down into fourth gear, chucking it into the curb on the right, trying not to run too far wide here. We get a bit too far wide, lose our braking point slightly. Now this is where we lost time. We actually ran over the outside there slightly, maybe lost a tenth or two. You can see on the delta we slightly losing a bit of time there, so it would have probably been a 0.5, but we weren't hot lapping it. This was just in free practice, so there is a lot more potential in this car, maybe a 29.3, maybe 29.2. So anyway guys, hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe for more videos, and I'll be back very soon with other setups. Thanks again for watching.